A woman is like a tea bag. You will never know how strong she is until you put her in hot water. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and beloved guests. I welcome you all to this very special meeting. She leads by Speak Up Toastmasters Club. I am privileged to be your Sergeant at Arms for today's meeting. As you all know, every Toastmasters meetings are governed by certain rules. I would request you to rename yourselves. All Toastmasters can rename yourself, prefix your prefix TM to your name, and guests can prefix guest. I'll give you 10 seconds to do this activity. All speakers are requested to do a quick audio video check before they start speaking. I would request you to not use the chat box while the speaker is speaking, because this may distract the speaker. In case you have something very important to communicate, please use the personal chat window. I would also request you to be on mute if you are not speaking. If in case you have your videos on, please try to maintain proper posture. Please do not talk about sex, religion, and politics in derogatory manner. Now to talk about the club mission. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience for our members, which empowers them to develop their speaking and communication skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Now, let me introduce to you the Emcees who would be taking this meeting forward. One of them is a software engineer who plans to switch stream and become a professor. The other one is a software engineer who wants to continue as software engineer. I won't tell you who is who. It is for you to discover. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome with a thunderous round of applause the Emcees for the evening, Toastmaster Vaibhavi and Toastmaster Yaska.
Hey, Yaska, come here. What are you doing?
It is International Women's Day program. What am I doing here?
See, whenever you're off camera, by seeing at your name, most people think that you're a female. So I want to tell them that you're a male. And also, we need diversity. See, Arunima is such a has so much of sportsman spirit. Why can't you? Come on, pick up.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon,
evening,
and good evening to one and all. Happy International Women's Day for all the women in the meeting. Welcome to International Women's Day event at Speak Up Toastmasters Club. We are your hosts. She is Vaibhavi, an engineer but an aspiring professor.
He is Mr. Yaskadeva Bayari, who is an engineer by education but a teacher at heart. Before we start, I request all of you to unmute yourself and say, Hooray!
Come on, once again.
Hooray!
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 Josh, thank you.
So, now without any further ado, let's start off to our first event of this particular program.
Toastmaster Arunima Bindal. She's working as business finance for Good Glam Group. She's a Toastmaster for 4 years and currently she's serving as VP Education for Speak Up Toastmasters Club. She likes to travel and read in her leisure time. With a thunderous round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on the virtual podium, Toastmaster Arunima. The podium is all yours.
Thank you, Emcees. Good evening and good afternoon to everyone. Women's Day. Let's learn a little bit about why the Women's Day is celebrated. How it grew out. International Women's Day grew out of the labor movement to become a recognized annual event by the United Nations in 1908. It was started when 15,000 women marched through New York City, demanding shorter working hours, better pay, and right to vote. A year later, the Socialist Party of America declared the National Women's Day. The idea to make international came from a woman called Clara Zetkin. She was a communist activist and advocate for women's rights. She suggested the idea in 1910 at an international conference for working women in Copenhagen. There she suggested the idea, and 100 women from 17 countries agreed on her suggestion unanimously. It was celebrated first in 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. Clara's idea for International Women's Day had no fixed date. It wasn't formalized until a war strike in 1917 when Russian women demanded bread and peace. And 4 days into the strike, they were given the right to vote. The date when women strike was the Julian calendar, which was followed at that time in Russia. On the other hand, this day was a Georgian calendar and 8th March in US. That is when it is celebrated. Things were made official in 1975 when United Nations started celebrating the day. International Women's Day has become a date to celebrate how far the women have come in society. We have seen women in every field, from being homemaker to leaders. The same happened with Toastmasters. It was not easy for women to enter Toastmasters. When the Toastmasters' first official meeting was held in 1905, it included only men. For Toastmasters, it took 58 years to open their doors to women. In 1973, a time when Toastmasters International was still a male organization, a motivated woman named Helen Blanchard joined the club named Homer for the encouragement of women to join the Toastmasters. 3 years later, Toastmasters officially began admitting the women, and Helen went on being the first women president from 1985 to 1986. After that, we have seen a lot of women as international presidents in the Toastmasters International. Today, the Toastmasters International has more than 55% of their members as women. To honor the first step taken by Helen in 2020, there was a meetup held, a mega celebration where more than 300 Toastmasters around the world gathered on a single virtual platform for 2 days to celebrate the step taken. Today, at Speak Up Toastmasters, we welcome you all for the celebration of Women's International Day. Thank you. Over to Emcees.
Yaska, because you were disturbing me so much, I forgot to tell you that we have to be on time. We can't bore them.
Yes, that's what I was going to tell you. Please introduce the important person, the timer for the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the timer for today is Kumari, who is an engineer and a dynamic Toastmaster who's carving a niche for herself. With a round of applause, please welcome our timer, Kumari. Thank you, Kumari. Did you hear what Arunima told Yaska?
Hi, good evening and good afternoon, everybody. So, first of all, happy Women's Day to all the women present here. And being a timer for the today's session, I would be timing the speech keynote address by Jeanine Kinsey. So the time limit for the speech would be 15 to 20 minutes. At 15 minutes, I will be show green card. That means you're on track. And at 17 minutes, 30 seconds, I'll show yellow card. And at 20 minutes, I'll show red card. For the evaluation also, the time limit is 2 to 3 minutes. So at 2 o'clock, at 2 minutes, I will show a green card. At 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I'll show yellow. And at 3 minutes, I'll show red card. So that's all for the role of timer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kumari Pooja, for keeping us on time. Vaibhavi, did you hear what just Toastmaster Arunima said? 55% of Toastmasters are women. And you say men dominate?
I think you missed out where she said that for more than 5 decades, that is 58 years, we women were not even allowed to step into Toastmasters. The doors were shut for us blunt.
Ladies
You
and
think that's
gentlemen, I know. I just remembered a story of a camel who was asking for a small place in a traveler's tent, and slowly it took up the entire space.
Okay, play the victim card, Yaska. You're very good at that. Just go on. We'll do the MC.
I play the victim card?
Yes, you're doing mansplaining
When
now.
am I doing the mansplaining?
You are doing it now. Don't
Guys, my time.
Sorry,
What's
Gautami.
happening?
Yes. We are there. We'll just introduce you. Please
See
introduce
what you
her.
did?
Please introduce her.
Okay, so now to do the comedy act, ladies and gentlemen, which is the next event which is the next task in our event, we have a very renowned and famous Dr. Gautami Deshmukh, who specializes in pediatrician.
She is not a pediatrician. You don't know how to introduce. Please help me welcome Dr. Gautami Deshmukh, who is a renowned neurosurgeon. Over to you, Gautami.
You guys should thank me that it is coming over to me. Because if there was any other person more ignorant than me right now in this room, it is these MCs. I'm not joking. Vaibhavi is like the Alia Bhatt of this particular show, you know. Ask her who the area director is. No, don't actually. Not worth it. She will obviously tell you the name of somebody irrelevant. But you are lucky again that I have taken up the stage. Everybody knows that I am one of the funniest people in Toastmasters. And I'm not saying that because it's Women's Day. Well, okay, there is a reason why I am doing the stand-up act when there are much more funnier people who win contests. It's because I'm a woman. And it's Women's Day. At least on this one day, I deserve to take more importance than any other comedian in this club, or even in Toastmasters for that matter. You will feel that, I am ranting or I'm being like this person who wants to only say negative things about men. I am not. I'm going to just switch on my gallery view and I'll tell you what I can see here. I can see that the essay is a man. I can see that the speech evaluator is a man. I can see that the introduction for the woman who is going to speak today is going to be delivered by a man. Do you really think it's Happy International Women's Day entirely? Okay, fine. We like these men. These are the nice men. We love them. They teach us every time what new we can do. They come up with their own interesting set of stories and experiences where, they have come across the difficulties and struggles that men have to go through every day. And still today, they stand in front of us. Strong, confident, without any fear in the world. These men, all these men are the reason why I ultimately decided to become a Toastmaster. Well, there are other reasons, obviously. Very early on in my life, I realized that I needed something a bit more economical and let's just say stronger than a therapy. You see, whenever I want to speak about a bad day, a bad boss, a really bad breakup, I need someone to talk to, right? I need to vent out whatever anger and feelings I have in my mind. If I go to therapy, it actually costs me about 2,000 rupees per session. But if I come to Toastmasters, in 6,000 rupees for 6 months, I get free therapy across the globe. How? Okay, you guys might not know. I'm an expert in this. Let me tell you. Whenever I have a life issue, the most minor inconvenience possible, I just convert it into a 7-minute speech. You see, when I make my inconvenience into a speech, it just makes sure that I complete at least one project from one of the chosen pathways. And there is only one evaluator who gets 2.5 minutes alone to say whatever they want to say. Even in those 2.5 minutes, they have to say good things about it. Even about my rant. Isn't that amazing? Why? Okay, again, let me remind you. Number one is a 5 to 7 minute speech is a way you learn from Toastmasters. You execute what you have learned. And that means it is self-growth. And secondly, because Toastmasters International is committed to providing a supportive and encouraging environment for anybody who wants to take up the stage. What you do after you come on the stage is something Toastmasters International does not have written anywhere. You do realize that Toastmasters International, one of the biggest and the most impactful communities in the entire world, focuses on the art of communication, public speaking, interacting with each other. The irony here is that for almost 58 years, they did not need women to do that. All the talking, all the communication, all the speeches were being done by men. Again, what we fail to recognize here is the contribution that men have made to the society so far, and we women have taken all the credit. We took the credit of being the people who speak better or more. But did we really deserve that? It's a question every woman should ask herself today. On International Women's Day, we are the one who need to self-reflect. And you know why I came to this point of self-reflection? I got a very heartfelt message in the morning. You know, this message wherein a gentleman, someone I really like, said that, why are you doing this? An event to celebrate women only one day? Again, don't you think this could be discrimination against men, or you're victimizing men to a large extent? And what happened? Why are you raising your hand, Arnab? Anything wrong? Did I say something?
Well, I did not say that I felt discriminated. All I wanted to say is you don't need a day to celebrate.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, Gayatri was very clear that I cannot offend anybody in this meeting. So let me take back my words. We don't need one day to celebrate womanhood, right? I agree. But since the men in this entire world are such generous, giving people, I'm sure you will not mind if we take one day, just one day, probably 1 hour of your evening to celebrate us. But in turn, because I understand you, I feel you, and I really do feel that you deserve better. What men do today for us and the society, not everyone can do that. And just because women have started saying that they can do everything that a man can do, doesn't really bring us to the same pedestal. Also, just because men cannot do every single thing that women can do, doesn't make them anything less of a human, you know. So men, firstly, you are enough. You are enough for the society. Your contributions are noted. Your contributions are valued. And hence, when Arnab told me that women don't need one day to celebrate Women's Day, I agree with him. Because of all that you do, we have 364 remaining days specially for you. Again, okay, I get it. One day was taken off this year, Women's Day. But next year is a leap year. There's one extra day in the year that we can give to you, and we will. You know what? That's on us women. Go ahead, have your time. And that was just my time. Over to you. The MCs, do they serve cold drink out here?
Wow, amazing, wasn't that?
Yes, brother Ahmed.
Tickling effect still running in my body. Well, going further, do you know who's our next participant?
Yeah, I got to know that.
Okay.
So to shoulder my pain in this particular event, I have another man in the room to help us take the event forward.
Okay.
He's a corporate leader, a Toastmaster, and an author of a best-selling book.
Okay. And also he works for a global IT major.
Yes. He's currently serving as District 124 District Chief Judge in Toastmasters.
And he has achieved the highest educational designation in Toastmasters, that is Distinguished Toastmasters, twice.
He has served in various leadership roles in Toastmasters with one purpose of helping people find their voice and make their own story.
Author, corporate leader, public speaker, this person plays all the roles effortlessly. Also, he's a recipient of Outstanding Member Pin from the Toastmasters International President. Ladies and gentlemen, with a thunderous round of applause, please welcome on the virtual podium, Distinguished Toastmaster Chayan Pant. Sir, the podium is all yours.
Thank you, Emcees. You know, that was some wonderful work done in introduction. I never thought that 1,000 rupees could really get me that far. But then, you know, I think we are living in an age where things come cheap. Well, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful speaker coming up, and it is my proud privilege to introduce the speaker. And I will not stand between you and the speaker because we know that there's a wonderful message coming after this. So let me get to it right away. Distinguished Toastmaster Jeanine Kinsey has been a member of Toastmasters since August 2006, which is exactly 10 years before I came into the first meeting of Toastmasters that I ever got into. She has served the clubs in various capacities of the secretary and the treasurer and has gone on to become a district director. Wow, that's something that I aspire to do, but I'm still far away from that. She is an IT consultant and enjoys sharing her stories of living line-sighted. And I'm really intrigued to find out more about it. She's also very active in our church and in the Boy Scouts, something that I tried early on, but then gave up. And she enjoys hiking, camping, and reading in her spare time. The first two are not something you associate with me. The last one I actually do. She and Matt, our international president, have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Toastmaster, leader, and an amazing woman, Distinguished Toastmaster Jeanine Kinsey. The virtual podium is yours.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Welcome to International Women's Day. We women are strong women. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about how being a strong woman doesn't mean you have to be tough, and how Toastmasters helped me become an even better woman and a leader. I was born blind, and my mother was a catalyst in allowing me to develop and to prove to the doctors that I actually did have vision and could see. That's another story, but it's important to understand as I go into talking about some of my other stories today. Now, I loved our comedian today. I appreciated your humor. And I want to just say, men have a lot of talents, but there's a talent that they don't have that I don't know too many women that don't have. It's called the mom look. We can control an entire room with that look when we want to. And I've done it. My children knew that look from across the room. Even if I couldn't see exactly what they were doing, they could see me and they knew I was aware they were doing something wrong, and they would stop. That look got a doctor to give my mother a prescription for glasses to try and help me see when I was less than a year old, at a time when they didn't put glasses on babies. As I grew, I became very strong. I was taught to be independent, to take care of myself, to speak up for myself. Simple things like, I can't see that on the blackboard. You've got to let me sit closer to the front of the room. Or I really needed to know what the book that we were going to be reading is before you started introducing it to the class, so that I had the time to order the large print book that can take up to 6 weeks to get here so that I could keep up with my class. I had to learn to be tough. I had to learn to be strong. And it taught me a lesson that I had to learn to not be weak, to not necessarily ask for help, but to tell people what I needed. And then only if I absolutely had to. So as a result of that, for 45 years of my life, I didn't use a blind cane. I had telescopic lenses that I used to help me see. I had cool glasses. I had neat tools that typically got me laughed at by kids in school. But I never used a blind cane because I didn't want people to realize that I might need that much extra help. In 2014, the glasses I had been using for many years that allowed me to mask my need for that cane, they broke. And for the first time in 20 years, when I called the doctor to say, hey, my glasses broke, it's time for a new pair, the line was silent. And he said, I can't make it anymore. Nobody will produce that pair of glasses. For the first time in 45 years, I was blind again. I reached out to the Florida Division for Blind Services to get some support, find out what tools were available to me. I knew they existed. I just hadn't used them in a long time because I didn't need them. Again, I was doing just fine. One of the things that they encouraged me to do was to start using a blind cane. The conversation went like this. Jeanine, I really think you should consider using a blind cane. I think it would really help you out. Need a blind cane? I've done fine for 45 years. Oh, I understand that, but I'm going to sign you up for training. I just want you to try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it, but I'm insisting that you try this. Okay, sure, fine. Worst case, I'll fold it up and put it in the drawer and not use it. So they got me a cane. Steve came to my house and taught me how to use the cane, how to tap as I walked, how to feel my way up and down stairs. And he gave me a homework assignment. For the next 30 days, even if you're going someplace that you know with your eyes closed, you have to take your cane. Okay, fine. Going to the grocery store, I certainly knew my way around. I tapped my way through the grocery store. It was December. December in the Americas and in a lot of countries, I'm sure, is kind of a crazy time. You don't typically want to go at a shopping mall in December. But my children decided they really needed to go to the shopping mall 2 weeks before Christmas. I faithfully took my cane. And as we're walking through the mall and I'm tapping away, I realized that my children are back there. They won't walk next to me. Guys, come on up here with me. That's okay, Mom, we're having fun watching the crowds. What do you mean? Aren't you paying attention to the people? Well, you see, one of the things that I had been trained with the cane is I wasn't allowed to look down, which is what I'd been doing most of my life to make sure that I didn't trip over something. I was supposed to look straight ahead. So I was looking straight ahead and practicing tapping my cane and looking around and going, wow, there's some neat things here. What I was missing was what my children described as the parting of the Red Seas as I came tapping down the hallway. Mothers were grabbing their children out of the way and darting from left to right to make sure that I didn't run into them. She can't see you. So I started laughing and realized that they were having fun behind me, and now I understood why. But as I was walking, I noticed something. Up over the walkways were these big television sets with announcements and advertisements. That was really cool. I'd never seen those before. So I made a comment to my daughter. I said, look at those. She goes, yeah, so. I said, those are really cool. I wonder, that's neat. I haven't never seen those before. Mom, those have been there for about 8 years. Oh. As I continued taking my cane, around familiar areas that I thought I knew, I discovered buildings that I hadn't seen before. And no, they weren't brand new either. You see, my blind cane had taught me to see again. And to realize that my stubbornness in getting help, in allowing people to see that I was challenged in some way, had cost me the opportunity to see my world. As women, we are guilty of this. And I think I can make a fairly blanket statement. Somebody comes up to you as a woman and says, oh, I'm having such a hard time. We're really good at telling them, oh, it's okay. You can get all, we can help you. We'll get you through that. We'll do everything you need. I can get so-and-so to come in and help you. And we'll get this person to come in and work with you. But when we need help, we try and do it ourselves instead of going to somebody and saying, hey, I could use a little bit of extra help on this one. We do ourselves a disservice by doing that. I began to realize it was okay to say, hey, I'm going to need a little extra help on this one. Let me go get my cane, and can you help me read those signs? Instead of walking into a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, and just trying to figure out, well, let's see, there's probably a cheeseburger on the menu, and I guess I'll just get the fries. I'll get whatever number it is that has the cheeseburger and fries and a small drink. Instead, I would walk up and they said, well, what do you want? I said, you know what? I actually can't see your menu. Can you give me an idea as to what my options are? I'm kind of interested in a chicken sandwich, maybe. And then imagine that they help. I enjoy things a lot more because I'm not trying to hide who I am and what I need. I walked into my first Toastmasters meeting in 2006. My husband's the one that introduced me to Toastmasters. I'd never heard of it. He had joined a corporate club that met at lunch, and the corporation paid the dues. So it didn't hit my bank account, and I didn't even know he was attending meetings until he invited me to attend an area contest where he was the test speaker. What is Toastmasters? He said, just come along, you'll enjoy it. So we went to this area contest, and I did. It was really cool. That was in September, October of 2005. 2006, he said, hey, I'm competing in the international speech contest at the division, and I'd really like you to come and support me. What he was actually telling me is he wanted me to come along so he could point me out in the audience as he told a story about me. But at that contest, he introduced me to the club that met a block from my house. Well, that eliminated my biggest argument of, well, I can't get to the meetings very easily. I could walk to this one. It was 7:30 a.m. on Friday mornings. That's awfully early, but maybe, you know what, it's really interesting. Maybe I'll come and join. That was in March. It was August before I walked in the door for my first meeting. I walked into their club contest for evaluation and humorous. I joined the club the same day. I thought I was a pretty good speaker at that point. So I signed up to do my icebreaker right away. And I got up and told a story. One that I still tell today, but it sounds a whole lot different than it did then. And at the end of the speech, I thought, they don't have a whole lot to give me feedback on. That was awesome. I know I'm good. The evaluator got up and said, I'm not sure how to say this nicely, but you really need to watch the video. You tend to move your head a lot, you tend to sway a lot, and you do a lot of lip smacks. I do not. I watched the video. You all know what a bobblehead is? You know, that thing that sits on the dashboard of your car and does one of these numbers while you're driving along? My speech looked something like this as I fast forwarded through it because I figured I didn't really need to hear it. You know, I have never done lip smack since, not unless it was intentional. And I very rarely sway when I'm up speaking anymore. I asked for help. I asked somebody to help me overcome those issues and to help provide me with additional feedback on how I could improve. A year later, I was the club president. The year after that, I was the district treasurer. 4 years later, I was the division director, or I called him governor back then. And then I was in the trio and eventually became a district director. I never saw myself as a leader. I saw myself as somebody who could get by. I could do really well at what I needed to do, but I wasn't going to go out and lead somebody else to do it or to follow me. And all of a sudden, I had a district of 3,000 people following me as their leader and succeeding. And I didn't do it alone. I knew I had things I couldn't do by myself. One of my challenges, I don't delegate well. I had to ask a mentor to make sure I delegated. And they did. I had to ask people to step up and help me with getting around and transport to get to various things that I needed to get to. And I needed to not be embarrassed to say, hey, I can't get there on my own. Would you be able to help me? I learned to speak up for myself as I became a leader advocating for the other people in my district. Instead of just being, as my daughter likes to call me, mama bear, and taking care of everybody else and protecting them, Toastmasters helped bring me out of my shell and allowed me to become that person that could stand up and say, hey, I need this in order for me to do that job. Can you help me get that? And if so, I'm happy to help serve. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to take that next step up. So as women, it's important for us to understand that we don't have to be the strongest person in the room all the time. We don't need to come in going, oh, I can't see, I can't do, I can't. But we don't have to ignore the fact that I do need some help. I do need your support. I can't do it by myself. As we celebrate National Women's Day, we've talked a little bit already about our first woman. It's important to understand she wasn't the first woman to join Toastmasters. She was the first one to do it and acknowledge she was a woman. We have stories in my own district here of women who joined Toastmasters before that under their initials or under a nickname, so that it wasn't obvious that it was a female, MJ instead of Mary Jane. Women were stepping out even then and having to hide who they were to get involved in the organization we belong to today with full open arms. And now, as has been stated, we actually have the majority of the membership. We've had presidents. We're about to have another one. Morag Matheson will be our president next year. And another one after that. Women have taken up the Toastmasters world by storm. We aren't displacing the men. I happen to find that a trio of all women, we do tend to have our issues. You got to have those men around to balance it. So don't think we're coming after you completely. We need you. But we're learning to work with you, and you're learning to work with us on a worldwide basis. As we work through our differences, whether it's cultural, religion, or gender, we're learning to support one another. We're learning to learn from one another. And we're learning to ask each other for help. Today, the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is that as women, we can do whatever it is that we want to do. We are strong. We are powerful. We can control a room with a look. But it's okay to say, I can't do it without help. If you take nothing else from this today, I want you to take that message that we can do it and that it will not diminish us to get help doing it. My stories go on. I have a lot of stories about being blind and learning how to overcome things. But today, I want you to be a strong woman. And I want our men to know that our women are strong. And yeah, we'll give you the other 364 days this year. Today is all about us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keynote Speaker. That was wonderful. Did
It
you
was
know?
a motivating,
Scintillating.
and illuminating speech, Jeanine. We just heard you going through all the odds that are coming on and on with toughness and strength in you. And thanks for reminding me all the mother looks that I had, which got me through engineering. Thanks for that. And also thank you for reassuring all the men that women are not here to dominate us.
What do you think?
What do you think, Vaibhavi?
Well, I just want to go ahead, step into my professional and personal life and put into implementation all that she has told me. Nothing else. Another huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our extremely well-spoken keynote speaker. Wow. Well, going further, Yaska, I'll ask you a question. Let's see how much is your general knowledge.
Okay.
Do you know who's the author of Harry Potter series?
You're asking a fanboy here. I have read all the Harry Potter series in 3 months before my exams. Okay. So
Impressive.
the author is J.K. Rowling.
Okay, that's good to know. And what is a full name? What does JK mean? Well, don't scratch your head. It's Joanne. You know what? She was purposely asked to keep her name anonymous. She was asked not to reveal her name because the publishing house felt that readers are may not be interested in reading a female authored book.
Anyways, she has broken all the records, right, in the history of the books ever.
Wait. Not just that. Tell me, who's the father of gynecology? Let me see your.
I think it is Dr. James Marion.
That's good note. See, ladies and gentlemen, we have a library with us. We have a person who's very good in general knowledge. Okay, tell me, who's the mother of gynecology, Yaska?
I don't know.
As expected. So Dr. James Marion Sims couldn't do all his experiment all by himself. He needed some bodies because it was something related to gynecology. He needed females to make sure that all his experiments are successful. And those females are also to be applauded because they literally gave their bodies, their life for the sake of experiment. So remember, henceforth, we do have mother of gynecology.
Yes, I will definitely remember.
Polish your general knowledge, Yaska.
Thank you for your information.
Okay. So I have a poem, Yaska. I want to recite it to you. It is very difficult to describe a woman. Her perfection can be tasted even in the juice of lemon. She finds her success in the progress of her children. Her husband's promotion is a joy of a home run. And
Vaibhavi, I know that you want to flaunt your poetry here, but we have someone who's going to recite a poem. Can you please introduce her?
yes. So this lady is a silver certified mentor in her organization. She is fulfilling not just her dreams, but also the dreams that her mother saw for her. She is an assistant consultant in Tata Consultancy Services, a big giant. So, any guesses, Yaska?
Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Nimisha Singla onto the virtual podium.
She is going to recite a beautiful poem for us, ladies and gentlemen. With a thunderous round of applause, please welcome her on the virtual stage. So, DTM Nimisha, the podium is all yours. Okay.
Tell me how I should behave. Show some tolerance and fear the knave. They call me a loose cannon because I don't fit in their idea of a woman. They talk of ethics and morals. I say they are mere models. They want to put me in a prison because I don't fit in their idea of a woman. They call me wild names, but their reputation is in flames. They fear my nuanced precision because I don't fit in their idea of a woman. They talk of womanhood and equality, only exposing their frivolity. Rationality is not in their disposition because I don't fit in their idea of a woman. Their petty minds make me furious, but their actions also make me curious. How they make a crime out of my ambition because I don't fit in their idea of a woman. I care not for their ego. I fear not their despot. I live my life on my terms and conditions because guess what? I don't want to fit in their idea of a woman. How many of you here, women present here, can relate to this? So guess what, Gayatri? You are not the only one. We are sailing in the same boat. And I wish that my mother is as proud of me as I am of her, as she's present. Over to you, Emcees, Vaibhavi and Yaska.
Wow.
So heart touching.
Thank you so much, Nimisha, for such a wonderful poem that you have given us all today.
So Yaska, how did you feel today?
Yes, I think after going through this meeting, it is good enough to give one day to women. As our comedian Gautami, Dr. Gautami said to us, yes, we had a great speech, such an inspirational, motivational keynote, where we saw and heard a story, a person who has gone through so much. I believe everyone in this room has taken out some points out of that speech as an inspiration and take it back so you can apply it in our own lives. Merely, we have lessons to learn. Learning cannot stop, be it wherever it is. And we have heard such an inspiration poem from Nimisha, who has contributed this to her mother. What do you think, Vaibhavi?
Yes, Yaska. It's good to hear from a man that he has bag of learnings in as takeaway in today's meeting. So without any further ado, I want to hand over the virtual podium to distinguished Toastmaster Dr. Gautami Deshmukh, who's the president of Speak Up Toastmasters Club. Gayatri, the podium is all yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. and Miss MC. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining this event. And first of all, thank you so much, Jeanine, for gracing this occasion. That story really inspired me a lot on a personal level. And I've been getting messages from the attendees here. They also found it very inspirational. As far as the delegation thing is concerned, I'm still struggling, but it feels good to know that I'm not the only one. And to know that you overcame that, it's a huge moral booster for me. Today we have with us our District 124 Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, Mohammed Zahid Hossain. I would like to invite him on stage to share a few words.
Hi, everyone. Happy Women's Day. Well, I actually don't know what to say about Women's Day because I have always been inspired by women. And I was inspired by my mother when I was young, then inspired by my girlfriends when I was a bit older. And then, of course, after the breakups, I got married and I was inspired by my wife. And right now I have 2 daughters who inspires me every day. Now, as far as women are concerned, I think we men cannot actually do without them. But sometimes being fools, we don't understand the value of women. All I can say is in my life of about 40 years now, somewhere I have got to understand the value of women, and I totally understand that without them, we are not as great as we can be, and without their support, I mean, things get tough. There is this one saying also, right, that behind every successful man, there is a woman, and I totally don't believe in that. I totally feel that with every successful man, there is a woman supporting that man. Because if you are married, if you are a father, if you are a son, and if you don't get that support from the ladies in the house, something is missing. And for me, that support is very, very important. As far as Toastmaster is concerned, I think since the time I have joined Toastmasters, it's my family who supported me, and maybe that is why I am where I am in Toastmasters. So without that support, we are nothing. And before I finish, actually, I'll recite this one poem. I don't know who has written it, but I have loved reading it all through my life. For the last, I think, 3-4 years, I have read this poem and I loved it. So I'll just go through it in about 30-40 seconds. He didn't like the casserole and he didn't like my cake. He said my biscuits were too hard, not like his mother used to make. I didn't perk the coffee right. He didn't like the stew. I didn't mend his socks the way his mother used to do. I pondered for an answer. I was looking for a clue. Then I turned around and smacked the dash out of him, like his mother used to do. So guys, of course, we have our women in our life, and sometimes we end up comparing them with others. Let's stop that. Our women are not comparable. They are the best. And I'm pretty sure that we are learning it with time. We men are learning with time that women are definitely people we need in our lives. Thank you so much. Over to you, to our presiding officer.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words. I love the fact that there was a message for men on the occasion of Women's Day. Thank you so much to our Club Road Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Zahid Hossain. That was a cherry on the cake. The true spirit of Toastmasters lie in the evaluations. And Distinguished Toastmaster Jeanine Kinsey is one of those Toastmasters, in my observation, who doesn't shy away. To my surprise, she asked for an evaluation. And I wondered, after reaching this position, I have seen many people who are like, oh my God, we don't need evaluation. But here we have someone who is setting an example of how a true Toastmaster should be. And to evaluate her speech, we had someone who is currently serving as our Division J Director in District 124. He was himself an Agile President Distinguished Area Director last year. He was also Mr. District 124 this year. And there are a few more things as well, but I think I'm going to just let him display and demonstrate his talent by his evaluation skills. Please help me welcome on stage Toastmaster Krishnesh Nayak.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Gayatri. Distinguished Toastmaster Jeanine, first of all, congratulations on delivering such an inspiring speech to this unfamiliar audience. It takes a great deal of courage and skill to effectively communicate with a bunch of people, most of whom I would like to assume you have never met before, and most of whom who are alien to the challenges you face on a daily basis. And I saw you handle the room with grace and poise. I clearly saw your ability to connect with the audience and deliver your message in a clear and concise manner. And this is a true testament to your communication skills, Jeanine. So when I was asked to evaluate you, I knew I was going to have to really do a good job. Jeanine, when you were speaking about mothers darting out of the way and the parting of the sea, hearing your cane, the nods and smiles that I saw in the various boxes, it was a clear indication of your ability to connect with people from all backgrounds, irrespective of gender or region or religion. All of them were smiling, they were nodding, and I could see your message get through. Truly impressive, and your message resonated with everyone in the room, especially yours truly. Thank you very much, Jeanine. Also, it's evident to me that you put in a great deal of effort and preparation to ensure your speech was impactful and meaningful to your listeners here, especially when you said to see the world, the wave of the hand, that was on point. In all the instances where you used your hands, whether you were talking about your journey in the through your life, while using your cane, in the shopping mall, during your journey as a Toastmaster, in all those instances, both your hands were perfectly visible. And because something tells me, I feel you know perfectly well where it is you have to stand to ensure you are at the center of the screen. It's these small things that make an impact, Jeanine. Again, wonderfully done. Your words left a lasting impression on me because I have someone in my club who also has similar difficulties as you. And I hope that you continue addressing people and inspiring others like me. If I had to give you a mom look for anything, it would be for just those few instances where I thought you could use pauses better to drive the message further home. Notice how I said further home. The message went home, further home. You did pause. I would have loved it. I would have loved it if it had been for a fraction more. For instance, when you said, for the first time in 45 years, I was blind again. Blind just a fraction more. Or when the pauses you took, when you were stating the various leadership roles you took over the years in Toastmasters, a fraction more in between would have made me open my mouth in awe of the wonderful things you've been doing in the leadership roles. In conclusion, Jeanine, I would love for you to consider increasing the duration of some of your pauses that could have more impact. And please continue using humor and preparation to inspire us. Your passion and enthusiasm were contagious, no doubt about that. And it was clear that you genuinely cared about sharing your message, about how asking for help does not diminish your awesomeness. Thank you for sharing your stories and experience with us today and for inspiring us to strive for more greatness. Well done, Jeanine, and over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much for that wonderful evaluation. I would just say that I think I can already see a club group director feeling proud that, okay, our division director did a decent job at evaluation, making our district proud. So thank you so much for picking up that mantle, Krishnesh. My dear friends, today we spoke a lot about womanhood. We spoke a lot about challenges. We spoke a lot about men's role in society. There was a lot of sarcasm. There was a lot of fun. There was a lot of direct communication. My personal feelings on this day are simply that it is time that we come together. And I'm not somebody who talks about gender equality for a simple reason that gender equality has been on paper for a really long time. What I promote is gender sensitivity. We don't have to diminish the other gender's role completely, because men and women cannot be equal in everything, because that is not how they are meant to be. They are meant to be two parts of the society, and they are supposed to keep the balance of the universe. And gender sensitivity simply promotes keeping that balance, respecting the other gender for their contribution and their role in the society. On the occasion of this Women's Day, I implore all of you, let's sensitize ourselves about gender sensitivity. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Distinguished Toastmaster Victor Jenkins, who is joining us all the way from California. We have Distinguished Toastmaster Naveen Parwal in the room, a senior Toastmaster from Singapore. We also have another senior Toastmaster from District 124 joining us, Distinguished Toastmaster Satyadeep Basu. Thank you so much to all the other members who are joining us. And once more, I would like to acknowledge Elios. He's here. He's the traveling Toastmaster. We call him Zoom Hopper. And of course, Eliza, for making this event possible. This would not have been possible without you. I would love for you to share a few thoughts before we adjourn the meeting. Please help me welcome on stage my dear friend, someone who made this possible, Distinguished Toastmaster Eliza.
Thank you very much and a very good evening to everyone. Friendly speaking is not about me, but it's about us. And congratulations for Gayatri and team. I only paying forward what Gayatri helped, because as a Toastmaster, we are helping each other. And when Gayatri told me, I also want to have a woman celebration, I told her, Jeanine is going to be the right person because she is inspired many women. And I met Jeanine about one time and I tell myself, I also need to invite her again. But unfortunately, my club cannot invite her too many times. So I actually using Gayatri to invite her because I also want to learn from her. So thank you very much, everyone, to give the chance for me to learn from all of you also. And this meeting can be happen without me, but cannot be happen without all of you, the people that actually make this meeting happening. So congratulations from all the teams. I love all the poems. I love all the MCs, especially. You are so awesome. And you really are very funny. Yes. We are enjoying everyone. So thank you very much and happy Women's Day for everyone. And for the men, let's treat women better. Oh, sorry, never mind. Okay, back to you, Gayatri.
Thank you so much for that, Eliza. So ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the meeting. We will be adjourning this meeting by stopping the recording, and then we will open the floor for all the women in the room and the men in the room to share their stories with us. And once again, thank you so much, Jeanine, for gracing this occasion and inspiring us, and in Yaska's word, illuminating men as well. Thank you so much.